But this weekend, Snow White was an absolute disaster. I mean, an atom bomb, a nuclear bomb, a hydrogen bomb, the biggest bomb you could ever have. The live action Snow White absolutely flopped. It's the worst live action remake that Disney's ever made. And let's face it, they've made a lot of them. Do they have any writers over there anymore that can actually come up with a new idea? Apparently not. They only grossed about 45 million over the weekend. I know that sounds like a lot, but the budget for this film, they say, is about 250, probably after the advertising budget and marketing is closer to 350. That's a disaster. They're never going to make their money back. They would have been better off just giving out the money for free, or let everybody have a free day at Disneyland or Disney World or something. It would have been actually better for their brand. It was a, well, shall we say, sleepy performance at the box office. In fact, everybody over at Disney is very grumpy about it. The critics and audience members are not being bashful about their opinion. I mean, there were some dopey decisions made by the actors and the director. I mean, it's going to take a doc to really resurrect this brand in the long run. Did I leave anybody out? I'm not sure, but I do know that it's cherry blossom time around DC, and the pollen in the air is making me a little sneezy. Sorry. I've taken some Claritin and I'm starting to feel a little sleepy because of it. I don't mean to dwarf this issue. It's a major problem. And you'll remember it all started 2 years ago when the actress who was cast to be Snow White, this is a big deal for her. I mean, this could launch her into superstardom. Instead, she decided to crap all over the character and the story that she just got hired to perform.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
So no Prince, or a different kind of Prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story, just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie,
Right.
Andrew Burnap, great dude.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Boy, what an arrogant little priss she is. And it's not only what she said, but the way she said it, I think, that cut people the wrong way. I mean, she's been in Hollywood for like a minute and a half. I literally have items of clothing that are older than her. And she's like, oh, that's Hollywood, baby. You know what I'm saying? This is her second movie, I think. That's weird. Weird, isn't it? And also, not just what she said, but yeah, the way she said it. I mean, it's kind of memeable, sadly. And she became a bit of a meme pretty quickly and a bit of a punchline. You heard her in the middle of that interview explain that we won't really know for sure until 2024. And if you check the calendar, you're not mistaken. It's not 2024. It's 2025. What took so long? Well, they went back and rewrote the whole damn thing. They reshot huge numbers of scenes. They tried to fix it because it was so bad. That spent a lot more money too. And the rumors were that she basically single-handedly dragged down the image of this movie before it could get even released. Her future in Hollywood was in question. I mean, what's the point of hiring someone if during the pre-show PR campaign, she spikes its chances before audiences even have a chance to see it? So her agent asked her to take to social media and sort of salvage whatever's left of her brand and her career. This, again, was back in 2024, I think. So here's what she had to say to throw her career a lifeline so that she could become a sympathetic character. Let's see how it worked.
Who hates when I win? The winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
It didn't work well Actually, it had quite the opposite effect. In fact, at this premiere, people did not line up to see it. Not at all. In fact, they lined up to stay home. People were tweeting out pictures of the seating charts at the movie theaters this weekend showing that there were only 2 seats sold, if any. People showed videos on their smartphones of the movie running in an empty cinema. That right there, that narcissism, that entitlement, that's what killed it, because it's the opposite of Snow White. In fact, the reviews from these crazy right-wing rags, look at these horrible MAGA conservatives like The Independent and The Guardian. Lazy, visually repellent, exhaustingly awful. The Times, Disney has trashed its reputation. Huffington Post, yeah, MAGA country over there, a strange hot mess. Screen Daily, listless. Vanity Fair calls it good enough for TV. And the BBC says it's a film that has a major identity crisis. And that's true. I mean, if you remember, 2 years ago when all this controversy started, this picture was released of one of the scenes being shot, I think, in Vancouver, because all the leftists in Hollywood refused to make movies in LA anymore because of Democrat regulations, policies, and payrolls. So, of course, they go to a foreign country where they'll get tax cuts because they're fine with you having to run your business with all of those taxes and regulations, but they go elsewhere. This picture was released showing the dwarfs. Yeah, it was the intersectional diversity, equity, and inclusion dwarfs who weren't even short, except for one who really looks like a Peter Dinklage knockoff because they couldn't afford Peter Dinklage, and Peter Dinklage trashed the movie too. This picture was released, this photograph, I should say, was released, and it had such an ugly response that Disney decided that they had to go back to the drawing board. That's the prince, by the way, leading the march there, who isn't really a prince. They ended up CGI-ing the dwarves. I wonder if these guys still got paid, though. One wonders. And Snow White opened this weekend with nobody going to see it. And you'll hear a lot about what I just showed you about what made it a problem and why people didn't want to spend money and enrich that entitled brat as the star of Snow White. I mean, you're supposed to root for her, and who wants to root for her if this is the way she behaves, this is the way she talks, and this is what she thinks of you? Yes, that's right. This is what she thinks of you. This is her Instagram account. And she put up a post the day after the election that said, "I find myself speechless in the midst of this. Another 4 years of hatred leading us toward a world I do not want to live in, leading us toward a world that will be hard to raise my daughter in." She does not have a daughter. "Leading us towards a world that will force her to have a baby she doesn't want." No one's forcing anyone to have a baby. And by the way, that's speaking really highly of the daughter that you haven't raised yet, that she would have a child that she doesn't want. I think there may be some parent issues with young Ms. Ziegler. "Leading us towards a world that is fearful. I shouldn't be this shocked, but I am. I am heartbroken for my friends who awoke fear this morning." I think she means in fear. "And I'm here with you to cry, to yell, to hug, to wax poetic on how the left continues to fail us in forging a new path forward. This loss should not have been, and it certainly should not have been by so many votes. I echo Ethel Kane's statement more than anything. May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace." You see, if you support Donald Trump, she wants you to never know peace. And we're seeing it play out right now as you see people who drive Teslas and people who are Trump supporters feeling no peace with violence in the streets. I also want to point out that that was a Disney actress who makes a good amount of money to stand in front of a camera and recite lines that, honestly, these days she doesn't even have to memorize. They just feed her the lines right before they start rolling if they have to. She gets paid a lot of money for that, and she uses her social media platform to offend so many people in this country because of the way they vote and who they support for president. And she's an employee in good standing with Disney. But Gina Carano got fired from her job at Disney for likening the COVID restrictions to what Nazis did to Jews in the Holocaust. And you may disagree with Nazi analogies. That's fine. But Disney fired Gina Carano for this. but is just fine with their star in Snow White saying what she said. Let me just finish this with two thoughts. I just made a major case as to why people didn't want to see the Snow White movie due to the lead actress's behavior, political views, attitudes, narcissism. None of it at all had to do with the one thing you do hear from TV analysts and journalists and TV hosts. You heard it all weekend long from them. Not the stuff I just laid out for you. No, they say one thing and one thing only, that there was controversy over the casting because Snow White was a Latina. Don't buy into that. That's a lie. Oh, sure, there may have been some people who questioned the idea of casting an actress to play a character who is described as having skin as white as snow by an actress who obviously does not have skin as white as snow. But that's not really the big controversy here. It really wasn't the problem. Most people did not say, I'm not going to see that movie because this actress is Latina. No, they didn't want to see this movie because the actress is an asshole. That's why they didn't want to go see the movie. So reject the lies that you will hear across the world that MAGA moviegoers didn't want to see this. Trust me, Disney should be able to have a big Snow White princess premiere movie without relying on those racist MAGA voters to come and buy tickets. If we had that kind of power to sync a movie, trust me, we'd do it every single time. This was a unique case that had nothing to do with non-traditional casting and the racial or ethnic makeup of the actress involved. It had everything to do with her hostility toward us based on who we are and what we believe and what we think, and her attitude toward the actual source material that we love, that she clearly doesn't love. And that would be the original story of Snow White. One other thought here. In a way, I think we should be grateful. You see, Snow White, if you see the trailer and based on what I've heard about the movie, did in fact go woke. They did decide to do non-traditional casting for many characters here and tell a storyline that had nothing to do with the actual original Snow White legend and had everything to do with Marxism and socialism and the struggle of the underclass against the upper class of the monarchy and yada, 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 yada. It was like Bernie Sanders and Karl Marx could have written the script. That's what got rejected here. And the fact of the matter is, it was written, 4 or 5 years ago, and it seems dated. Because we're not in 2020 anymore. This isn't the BLM era. We've moved past it. We've rejected it. We think it's a joke and a punchline. But this movie took so many years to make that it now seems out of touch. Think about that for a minute. A movie that was written just 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and is premiered in spring of 2025 seems dated. But if you go back and watch the original from 1937, it is timeless. And that's the point. You tell good stories that touch our heart and make us laugh and make us sing, and yes, maybe even make us feel romantic or cry, then you've succeeded. That's what art is supposed to do. You try to hit me over the head with a political message that I disagree with and tell me that I'm the enemy and you want me to spend $20 to get the message, it ain't going to happen. And maybe we should be grateful. Maybe this monumental failure, once and for all, will drive a stake through the heart of woke movie making in Hollywood. Maybe this is finally the end of that. But don't bet on it.